Good evening, you're watching Awani Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. The son of Menteri Besar of Perlis is among 6 individuals remanded by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. This is linked to an investigation of the submission of false documents and claims involving 600,000 ringgit over the past 2 years.
According to sources, 2 civil servants from the office of the Perlis MB, Muhammad Shukri Ramli, were also detained along with contractors and owners of various companies. All 6 suspects aged between 26 and 37 were detained in Perlis on Tuesday. The case was being investigated relating to document forgery in making false claims when the project in question was not carried out. The project involved maintenance, repair, supply and service works starting from 2022 until now, estimated to be worth 600,000 ringgit.
The interim report on the helicopter collision will be ready in 2 weeks, while the full report will be ready in a month, says Communication Minister Fahmi Fadzil. He said the Defence Ministry would also announce a series of aid to be extended to the families of the victims soon. On Tuesday, 2 military helicopters crashed following a mid-air collision over the naval base in Lumut during a rehearsal session for the 90th Navy Day celebration. All 10 crew members on board both helicopters perished, and their post-mortem were completed earlier today. The victims were also accorded military honours at the 23rd Royal Malay Regiment camp before the bodies are handed over to the families. Meanwhile, the suspect in the KLIA shooting case last week pleaded not guilty to 7 charges, including illegal possession of a firearm. The accused, Hafizul Hawari, who was not represented by a lawyer, appeared before Kota Bharu Sessions Court Judge Nik Habri Mohamad.
In the first offence, the 38-year-old travel agency manager was charged with possession of a Glock 19 Austria pistol inside a Honda Civic at KPJ Perdana Specialist Hospital, Kota Bharu. For the second offence, he was charged with possession of 33 bullets without a licence. For the third offence, Hafizul was in possession of a packet of Fireball firecrackers without a permit. For the 4th to 6th offences, Hafizul was charged with possession of identity cards of 3 different individuals. And for the 7th offence, he allegedly used fake registration plate on the Honda Civic. Nik Habri set May 23rd for remention of all cases, document submission and for the accused to appoint a lawyer.
The decision on the next legal course of action against the 10 individuals detained in connection with Israeli Shalom Avitan will be known next month. All suspects are currently being detained under the Security Offences Special Measures Act, SOSMA.
According to Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Commissioner Datuk Rusti Muhammad Isa, the decision would depend on the investigation of the 10 suspects, including 3 foreigners. Currently, the detention for 7 suspects will expire on May 14th, while the foreigners' detention will expire a day after. Rusti also confirmed that one of the foreign suspects held a United States passport and entered the country as a tourist. It was reported that a total of 18 people were detained in connection with Avitan. 3 of them, Avitan and a local married couple, have since been charged, while 5 others have been released. Avitan is accused of weapons trafficking after he was arrested with 6 semi-automatic handguns in his Kuala Lumpur hotel room.
Unhealthy eating practices and lack of physical activity are the main contributing factors to obesity, said Health Minister Datuk Seri Zulkifli Ahmad. While refuting claims that 24-hour restaurants are the main cause of obesity in Malaysia, he said this must be proven empirically and through comprehensive studies.
Dr. Zul added that banning restaurants from operating 24 hours a day will not prevent consumers from seeking alternatives. He said each individual is responsible for their own eating habits and lifestyle, though he acknowledged the low level of awareness on health literacy in Malaysia. His comments came following the Consumers Association of Penang, CAP's proposal calling for restaurants to be banned from operating 24 hours a day to help reduce health and obesity problems in the country. Dr. Zul said CAP's proposal will be refined to address the issue after an engagement session with all stakeholders so the government can come up with a comprehensive solution.
We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
tangan dan dahi berturut-turut. Inilah ujian untuk Arsenal mengejar gelaran.
All that matters is who wins it.
Pertembungan penentuan bakal juara Liga.
Oh wow, that is incredible.
Tekanan semakin memuncak.
That is one belter of a derby goal.
Arsenal bertemu musuh tradisi sekali lagi di Premier League secara langsung di Astro.
Seterusnya, peminjam Perbadanan Tabung Pendidikan Tinggi Nasional atau PTPTN digesa merebut peluang insentif diskaun bayaran balik pinjaman.
Fenomena Equinox menjadikan bumi dan matahari berada pada jarak paling dekat dalam sistem solar.
Malaysia berjaya membanteras jenayah berkaitan dadah bernilai RM990 juta sejak 2019.
Jangan meletakkan harapan tinggi berhubung soal mencari jawapan pesawat Malaysia Airlines MH370 yang hilang 10 tahun lepas.
Welcome back. Amendments to the Universities and University Colleges Act, or OCU, were passed in the Dewan Rakyat last month to grant students more autonomy in managing the activities and finances of their associations. Rashdan Mohamed Hassan, formerly of the National Student Consultative Council, shares what the amendments could mean for student empowerment.
Some key amendments made to OCU can be looked into. First, the governance of the Student Representative Council or the student union itself. Now, with the amendment of Section 15, who actually give the freedom, more freedom for this group of leaders to actually handle their own financial activities and give more autonomy and be a more autonomous institution to the student in the future. Also, by having this, maybe they will create more future income generation. And I would say this will actually smoothen or maybe cut off some bureaucracy and the dependency towards the university. And if these practices become a success, we can see in long term that the student bodies will then create more benefits, not only for the student, but also the university.
However, Rashdan said there is still room for improvement, especially when it comes to implementation.
I think this amendment actually, when we look on the bigger scope, needs the cooperation of these three main stakeholders: the students, the universities, and also the ministry. I mean, we can't afford any working in silo scenario where only one entity works or one entity is working with one thing, another one is working with the other, when at the end there's no correlation happens and the agenda which should have been better, but at the end become worse than expected. So I think the most important thing is how this implementation can run at its best possible outcome. For instance, is the unfixed tenure term could be an abuse which can be used by one party to another, or maybe this will cause a disruption to any functional works on the student bodies, for example. Or maybe in terms of financial, are there any audit procedures which need to be introduced or implemented in the future, or any regulations specifically are to be made to align with our Bank Negara's organization monetary policy? The Student Disciplinary Committee, will they need to create a new regulation to protect any entities who undergone this process, since now students are also involved and allowed to be in the committee? How far this will help and benefit the student? These are, I think, some of the key things which can be looked into when the amendment has been made, so that we have a proper governance and at the end we'll have everyone in the ecosystem. We don't want any loophole. We don't want this amendment make the student empowerment become worse, but we want this amendment to actually help the student to develop more, not only as an individual, but also for them to strive and survive after they finish their studies in universities.
The US Senate has approved a controversial landmark bill that could see TikTok banned in America. It gives TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance 9 months to sell its stake, or the app will be blocked in the United States.
The Senate on Tuesday voted 79 to 18 to approve the legislation. The bill will now be handed over to US President Joe Biden, who has said he will sign it into law as soon as it reaches his desk. TikTok is expected to bring legal action in an effort to block the legislation. The measure was passed as part of a package of 4 bills totaling $95 billion, which also included military aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Fears that data about millions of Americans could land in China's hands have driven congressional efforts to split TikTok from the Beijing-based company. ByteDance insists it is not a Chinese firm, pointing to the global investment firms that own 60% of it.
Meanwhile, the UN Human Rights is calling for an independent and transparent investigation into the mass graves found in and around hospitals in Gaza, including at the Nasser hospital. Palestinian officials said they had exhumed 283 bodies at Nasser hospital, some with their hands tied.
We are horrified also by the destruction of An-Nasser Medical Complex and Al-Shifa Medical Complex and the reports of the discovery of mass graves in and around facilities. And we call for independent, effective, transparent investigations into the deaths.
The Palestinian Civil Defense noted that some of the dead were killed during the Israeli army's siege of Nasser Hospital, while other remains were buried at the hospital before the siege was launched. The Israeli army has said it has raided a number of hospitals in Gaza, claiming that Hamas have been operating inside them, a claim which Hamas and medical officials deny.
Meanwhile, Australian police have arrested 7 teenagers accused of following a violent extremist ideology in raids across Sydney. Police said the 7, aged 15 to 17, were part of a network that included a 16-year-old boy accused of the stabbing of a bishop in a Sydney church on April 15.
At this stage, 7 people, all juveniles, have been arrested and a further 5 are assisting police with our inquiries. As part of our JCTT investigation into the alleged Wakely stabbing, we identified links between the alleged offender and a network of associates and peers who we believe shared a similar violent extremist ideology.
More than 400 police officers executed 13 search warrants at properties across southwest Sydney. Authorities said that these juveniles had adhered to a religiously motivated, violent extremist ideology. A 16-year-old was charged on Friday with committing a terrorist act, a crime that carries a maximum penalty of life in prison, following the knife attack which injured an Assyrian Orthodox bishop and priest.
In other news, Athens turned orange as a rare haze of dust blanketed the Greek capital city due to a Sahara dust storm. Greek authorities warned that sunlight and visibility are likely to be reduced due to dust concentrations, while levels of fine pollution particles can increase and pose health risks.
Athens was not the only city which was covered by the orange haze. Other Greek cities were also covered in clouds of dust which blew from the Sahara. Officials said this is one of the worst such sandstorms to have hit the country since 2018. Every year, the Sahara releases 60 to 200 million tons of mineral dust. Even though the largest particles rapidly settle down on Earth, the smallest particles are likely to travel thousands of kilometers and may also reach Europe. The Greek Weather Service said the skies would begin to clear on Wednesday.
That wraps up our One Tonight. I'm Fana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.